Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News with me, Katira King. As Africa slowly but surely inches her way to the next level in development, major challenges such as corruption and nepotism continue to hold our beloved continent back. From Africa's leading economies to the least developing ones, nepotism, which is the practice amongst those with power or influence of favoring relatives or friends, especially by giving them jobs, is a widespread vice that curtails development by ensuring that power and money remain amongst few members or groups. Today on Our Take, we ask, is the system broken? Where should the sense of entitlement end? If you're in a position to get ahead utilizing your connections, should you act upon it? Or is that just plain lazy? Joining the conversation today, we have Arise's Labo Daniel, PR Director Ronke Bamisedun, and security expert Ubong King. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Well, there's so silence on set. What is going on?
Thank you for having us.
We're such a hundred people here this
so
morning.
Motivated by Mr. King.
Yes,
We're just
absorbing
all the that, marinated on the
Beyond inspiration.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
So I like to be quite controversial during our takes because it's the only way to get candid, truthful, genuine responses. Now, if we're calling it what it is, you started off in life without the best of experiences, and you started off with a silver spoon. So I knew you wouldn't like that. Look at the look on my face. I knew you wouldn't like that, but it's true. Let's call it what it is, okay? Now, in terms of having, sort of nepotistic ways favor you to help you get ahead, what are our thoughts on this? I'll throw it out there into the open. Anyone that wants to take it, pick it up.
For me, I think that there's nothing wrong with leverage.
Right.
I think leverage is good. There's nothing wrong with leverage. But I think also that people exaggerate rich people having that edge. Because I've worked with rich, they work hard. Like when I first started my career in investment banking, I mean, you had people whose surnames open doors anywhere, and they work hard.
Interesting.
Like no kidding. Like maybe there are a few bad eggs, and you've got some people who are spoiled, but the ones that I know, everyone just needs to work hard, essentially. That's just real. Rich, poor, middle class, everyone needs to work hard to get ahead. Leverage helps. And it's the same thing all over the world, to be honest. Leverage helps. But then again, I don't think people should just sit down and then,
So you look like you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I moved to the UK when I was about 14. And obviously, everybody says the UK or the States is pretty much a leveler. Nobody cares what your last name is. Nobody cares what you do. My first job at 16 was actually at a butcher's store in Walthamstow in East London.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if anybody's worked at a butcher's store in the middle of winter, but you're selling meat and it's cold and nobody cares who your father is in Nigeria. Nobody cares. But for me, I also knew that to grow myself in PR, I had to get experience in the UK. I had to work, and I had to work by applying for jobs. I didn't call anybody to say, listen, my dad, I was in a completely different country, right? But I do also agree with you because I work in PR. PR is all about networks, it's about contacts, right? If I know somebody or an uncle knows somebody who works in a bank, I might say, do you mind introducing me? Do you mind giving me their email? I'm not going to sit on it and say, oh, I don't want to use your contact.
I'm going to find it myself.
What I do once I get in that door, it's all of me. What I don't agree is when everything's just given to you on a silver platter.
Right.
You don't deserve the job, but you get it because Uncle this works in a bank, or you have no idea what you're going to do in that role, but suddenly you've been promoted because your uncle is a CEO. That is just a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Mr. King.
Okay, let me start from a controversial point of view.
We love controversy.
Yes, I think I salute your experience because that advantage or leverage that you thought you had was actually a weakness. Absolutely. Because one of the things that you use to cook a pot of soup is salt. Pain is also a necessary factor for success because the down payment for success is pain in there. If you don't know how to take pain, you cannot succeed. So, like, if you grew up in a place that you were protected, covered in there, you are still going to come to the marketplace. The marketplace is fire. In there. So that is where your head will burn. You need to think, okay, if this door closes, what do I do? You need to think on the job in there. The way things were 10 years ago is not how it is today. Now she is succeeding in PR. How many other people are in that same PR sector as well? And the same market share. So you need to do something extra. Even if you get the contact today and you work with the contact, they will only do sweetheart deals, you know, take this one. But tomorrow, you will have to justify your product. If it's not working, it's out in there.
Absolutely.
So it's daily sitting down, burning the candlelight, being creative, and then disrupt the market.
Regardless of whether or not you've had a helping hand.
Whether you were rich or not, you have to disrupt the whole market.
So now my question is, for those people who may not have had the best starts in life, for those people that then watch those people and say, oh, you know, perhaps you're not able to get a job because you're lazy, you're not putting yourself out there. Are we just pathologizing poverty, or are these valid excuses?
For me, poverty is by choice.
Interesting.
Yes, it's by choice.
Controversial. I like you, sir.
Yes, it's by choice. If you can see it in your mind, you hold it in there. Now, you can't imagine what I see in my mind. Now, I'll give you a classic example. I was going to speak in Aba, so I dropped at Owerri Airport. And as I passed through, I saw children eating mangoes and throwing it away. I said, okay, fine. And Daddy called. But when I remember somewhere like South Africa, now, you will not see that happen. They will pluck the fruits. They will divide that mango into 2 parts. They will take the flesh of one part, pound it, put water, put juice in it, water in it, and they'll sell it as juice for you. The other side of they'll cut it in slices, dry it, and sell it as dry fruits in there. The same mango, somebody's throwing on the road. I was in Long Island, Long Beach a few days ago, and I bought lemonade for $5 a cup. Lemonade is just lemon plus water and ice. $5, 1,825 naira. There were over 4,000 people on that beach. So no student that is on strike should tell me that they don't have anything to do in there. Look for where people are gathered, put juice together and sell it. Now, if there are 1,000 people buying it at $5, my sister, in 3 months, you're a millionaire.
You've crunched your...
Where's the speech? I'm new career path. I'm going to go and sell lemonade on the beach.
Yeah, maybe a part-time role for me as well, yes.
But it's interesting, though, to look at nepotism because it's something that really pervades the African culture. If you look at a lot of the presidents that we have in situ right now, most of them are not qualified, you know. Some of them got there through nepotistic tendencies. A lot of people that you have in government, ministerial positions, the same thing. So it seems to be something that is etched into our core as Africans. How do we fight it? How do we give people positions based on merits?
It's beautiful that I'm an African because I see it. I'm able to compare. Let me give you a classic example. Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the vice president of UAE, took 4 people and went to the desert. When they got to the desert, he asked them, what do you see? And someone said, I see sand upon sand. I see desert, no water, no life. They asked him, what does he see? And he said that, look, I see an opportunity for another national economy. Because of that, Arabian Adventures was created. Now, 14.5 million people visit Dubai. One of the things they want to do is to go to the desert. If you check the visa fee of $140 per person, 14.9 million people, you are talking about nothing less than 800. Oh, my calculation has gone out now. But if you do it, if you check that figure alone, it's more than the country's budget.
Wow. But Mr. King, what you're saying now is, are you saying that? So we have this nepotism problem, right? So you're saying that they also have the same thing in the UAE, but they're doing great with it.
Yes.
Well.
Yes.
So it's one thing to have nepotism and place a qualified person in a position of power. But what about when nepotism goes wrong? When we're literally just handing out opportunities to people that don't deserve it and cannot do anything with it?
I mean, everywhere in the world, I would say you have that. Even in the States, for example, if you look at like the former presidents, the Bushes, for example, it's been handed down. You know, it happens. It happens anywhere in the world. You know, was he qualified? No, I'm not allowed to say that. You know, but again, it's one of those. It happens everywhere everywhere in the world. I just think in Nigeria and Africa, it's such a fundamental problem because even if you look at our track records in how some of us are raised, you know, we're raised with that entitlement. We're raised with a sense of entitlement when, you know, I get people who come to work in our agency, but they've moved back from the UK, for example, they've moved back from the States. But what happens is the salary you pay them, it's probably the same thing that daddy gives them as their pocket money. So the way they present themselves within the agency is like, I don't really have to be here because what you're paying me is what I get at home anyways, right? What then happens in 10 years, that person's a PR director, but you sit down in a meeting and you're thinking, how did you get here? And that's what I was saying earlier about serving. You need to serve. All of that chip, that ego needs to fall off. And it takes you back to what you said. There's pain in success. Until you go through the fire, until you go through the rains and build yourself, you're not going to learn. So whilst you might think, I can go and set up my own agency, I don't have to sit with you, I guarantee you in 10 years, in 15 years, you would see the cracks when, you know, you present and somebody with the experience presents and, you know.
But this is not only amongst rich people. So you have people who are from low, like from
simply and so that then goes to the core of who you are as an individual. The fact that you believe that the world owes you something. And why do we have that? So this is not particular to just Africans. It's particular to humans.
But
why do we have that? Yes. In fact, thank you very much. Particular to millennials.
Because for one, you know, the world has gradually, you know, deceived us that parents, you know, need to take care of their children. They shouldn't suffer. They shouldn't do this. So they miss that interesting part of success. And even now, like, okay, let's use Nigeria, for example. Now, every community in the Niger Delta, if you want to do anything there, they tell you they want development money, you must pay the youth council, you must do this and that. And it's wrong. Because if you don't learn to work, people will take your money out.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up. I feel like there's never enough time for these discussions. So our final thoughts are, nobody owes you anything.
At all.
And that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thanks once again to my wonderful guests, Ronke Bamisedun and Ubong King, for joining me, Katura King. And of course, thanks to you at home for watching. From my entire team and I here in Lagos, all that's left for me to say is enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.